Hey everybody, my name is Justin, the E-Professor, and today we are going to talk about, cybersecurity. And most specifically, we're going to talk a little bit about ransomware because, in all honesty, it's probably the hottest topic since Rapatoni, one of our providers, one of our customers, our vendors, got hacked recently, and it was not awesome. So, uh, the thing that I want to make sure we understand and we talk about today is that we need as agents or as the leaders in our companies that we need to have strategies. We got to be able to communicate this with our clients, the realtors themselves, or even our clients themselves about what this looks like and what they got to be aware of and do this. So we're going to kind of talk about it from basically three components: understanding of what ransomware is. We're also then going to talk a little bit about strategies to protect. And then at the very end, we'll do a little bit, not much, but just a little bit about what happens if you do get hacked, right? What are you going to do? What are you going to try to do to make that happen? So that's kind of what we're going to talk about today. So with all that being said, let's get this started. So what is ransomware? Well, ransomware is it's malicious software, right? It is a strategy and a set of tools that are in place that are going to encrypt files or whole systems that they will not release until we play them a ransom, i.e. ransomware, right? So the whole point of this is for them to lock down your system, lock down your files, lock down whatever, and make it so intolerable that you're willing to pay the money to uncrypt the system, the files, whatever, right? That's what we're doing here. You have seen this happen many times. Again, I just mentioned one. Rapatoni has been probably the most recent and closest to our hearts in real estate world, but it's happened all the time. There are hotels overseas that got locked out. Their consumers or their residents got locked out of the rooms because it was all a digital-based program, and they were locked out of their systems. And the only way they got back in is to do it. Now, the thing that's really interesting is most ransomware folks are pretty strategic in nature. For the most part, what they are doing is locking everything out and charging a dollar amount they think is going to get them paid versus people fighting them to get other things done. So that's always very interesting as well as far as that goes. You've got some versions of these that sit out there. One is called crypto ransomware. It basically encrypts valuable files. So you got locker ransomware that will lock whole operating systems. And then you got scareware, which is fake software that claims your computers has security issues. So what they do in here is really kind of interesting, right? So they're going to send things like an email, right? We see those all the time, look like an illegitimate email from their banks or things like that, and they're going to ask for new passwords or whatever, and they're going to get into your system. You're even seeing some these days that are saying, okay, you bought a virus protection software when you know you didn't, and now you're calling that number up, and then they're having you download a sharing software, right, that will let them see into your computer and then make things up behind the scenes, and you're not realizing it. And what they're doing is actually kind of scary, but ingenious as well. They are pretending like they accidentally gave you more money than they did, right? So then they got to give you money back. But what they'll also do in that point in time is also start encrypting software into your computer that will essentially lock you out, right? It'll essentially lock you out of your computer programs. It will really be very dangerous. So you always want to be careful of those phishing programs. There are some that are a little more malicious in nature that will just find weaknesses in the softwares themselves, and they'll find backdoor access and come out and just attack that system in place, and we'll have stuff out there. You don't see it a lot on mobile devices. You are seeing it more and more, so don't just think that we're talking about laptops and desktops from this perspective. Be careful on your phone as well. And the last thing I want you to think about is most of these attacks don't happen at the higher levels. They happen, at at the realtor level in our world, right? They happen at that level in our world because simply the fact that we're living by the seat of our pants many times. We click on things, we don't think about it, and we do this. I remember seeing early on a couple of years ago, a lot of people were sending me offers on listings, and they say, hey, we got an offer on your listing, not on the address listing or whatever. They were, it was just a generic link. It was coming from a quote unquote Google file. Well, those aren't real, right? That's how they're getting in. They're attacking the uneducation of our parts, but they're also attacking the very sporadic nature of how our business lives, right? We live very fast paced. We live very quick and not always very direct in our reasoning for that stuff. So we always do want to make sure that we are careful with what we're looking at and how we're clicking on things, or more or less what we shouldn't be clicking on. So that's kind of what ransomware is, how it happens and things like that. What I want us to think about with this is, okay, you know that now, right? But that means, so what? How do I protect myself? How do I do these things? Well, first and foremost, have a backup strategy. I am personally a fairly big fan of cloud softwares, right? I used to use Carbonite for quite some time. I still do not mind it. I like that software. It's been around, I think, the longest. You also have tools like I use iDrive now. That one's really good. And you have plenty of other programs. Those aren't necessarily ones you have to use. Those are two that I like. Cloud backup systems are always great. You can always get external hard drives and back up your stuff there. There's really good cloning softwares that will take your system and move them back and out. That's always a really good strategy, taking that stuff out there. Make sure, please, 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 make sure your computers are being updated, at the very least, at the security level of things. I do know some of us at all times do have older computers, and they have stopped updating the operating system and things like that. But they still will continue to put security patches and software patches in place. So please always make sure you are updating that, letting the system do its thing. And that does not only mean your operating system, but it means the softwares that you have on your computer, right? When your browsers need an update, update them. Don't wait. When you have specific software that you are using that you have downloaded in that system, please update them, because that is some of the vulnerabilities that they are coming through with that stuff. So always make sure you are backing up and updating those software programs. Always try to watch some of the latest trainings. You know, from me, we do have Craig as well that teaches a lot of that cybersecurity conversations. I'm hoping to have an interview with him shortly about some of these things. But we want to make sure that, you know, you stay on those trainings. And, you know, from your association, I'm sure we're going to start seeing a lot more of those trainings because, again, once a big company gets done, you're going to see a lot more in place. So you'll see those as well. The other thing that I will say in here is probably one of the best strategies to do today is have that multi-factor authentication. Like I have it on my Google account. Every time I log into a new device, it gives me a text link, or it gives me a confirmation code on my phone and says, hey, is this you? Did you really do this? And do that. And do it with as many of the softwares as you can. I do get it. I mean, I understand that you have multiple software accounts, multiple accounts, and that becomes a bear, right? But it's your protection. It's your data. It's your client's data. There's a lot of stuff here we're protecting in that world. So I would always encourage a multi-factor authentication. With that being said, I would also recommend some sort of password manager, right? Something that you can create that is more complicated than Mickey123 or password or whatever we use, right? I would recommend those all times because it becomes a little trickier with that. If you have a good password manager, you can use that. I used to encourage tools like LastPass, and I still think it's a decent one. They did have a little bit of a mess up at the end of last year. That has made me a little leery on them. So right now I am using and testing Bitwarden. Eventually I'll come out with a training on that sometime soon after I have played with it just a little bit more, but I have liked it so far. So Bitwarden would also be another one. And these will be in the links in the video later. So just something to be aware of from there as well. Now, last but not least, this is going to be a shorter video, more of a training type video, but here's what I want you to think of, folks, and be very, very aware of in this world, is if you have been hacked, what are some of the things you're going to do? You're going to take your computer offline so you don't affect anybody else, first and foremost. If you're on your company email or your company internet, take it off. Because if they have one vulnerability, they'll find other ones and exploit them in those networks, especially if the wireless network or even the actual network isn't locked down, it'll be out there. Talk to somebody that knows, right? Take your computer, get it to an expert of some sort, right? A local service company, or maybe you have someone in your office, or maybe your association has somebody in there that does that as well. They're always available. And then you always got to know your state laws. Some laws, some states you'll be required to identify and let them know that you have been attacked, and then what exactly has been discovered, if you can find that out. So just be aware that you do have some of those things out there. So again, you want to isolate it. You want to contact your local IT guy, wherever that may be, and you may have to notify depending on the state laws that you are in. Now, again, that's what it is. We just talked about ransomware. We talked about that. It's a malicious software that has come out and will attack the vulnerabilities built into your computer and lock you down. And to get it back, they're going to ask for money. We talked about some ways that it came in, phishing, again, vulnerabilities in your software, things like that. And then we talked about some strategies to protect against it. And then at the very end here, we talked about and told you what happens if you get affected. So if you did like this video, please like, share, and subscribe for more insights. One of the things I'm going to tell you right now, I'm going to pause this real quick and let you know, folks, one of the things I want you to be very, very aware of, I was trying to do these things every Friday. And right now, I'm finding that to be a big challenge. So I would encourage you to subscribe that way and know to hit the little notification bell, because one of the things that I'm trying to figure out is what's going to be the right day to go live consistently. But until then, it's going to be randomly. I'm going to have interviews coming up with various people that I want to talk to in our industry to help you all grow your business. And I'm going to be on their time schedule. So be very conscious of that stuff. I will still always replay on Friday, so if you miss it, you'll have it available. But until then, if you want to see these things live, talking to me in person through this system, I always recommend subscribing and hitting that bell, reminder bell. That way you know when I'm on and you can come in and do this. So until then, we'll see you next time.